I'm really a criminal trying not to be one. I've been arrested for 26 violent felonies.
Oh my God.
All violent.
Who are you fighting?
Everyone. I love to fight. It's my favorite thing to do. That is my...
An update in a murder trial out of Scott County. 33-year-old Justin Wright was found guilty of killing his then-girlfriend, 20-year-old Wilanna Bibbs.
My best friend at the time, she had her own plans with my baby daddy while I was in the hospital, and she decided to not only spend time with him and my child while I was in the hospital, but she decided to actually go ahead and move all her
26 violent felonies, all violent, and he said it himself, on camera, without flinching. That right there is Justin Wright, music producer, industry connected, and according to him, someone who loved to fight more than anything else in this world. That interview you just watched happened 1 month before Mother's Day 2021. 1 month before a 20-year-old young woman named Wilanna Bibbs was shot dead in Davenport, Iowa. Inside his mother's house. The argument that allegedly set it off? $70. He said she took his money. She said she didn't. And by 1:25 in the afternoon, on the one day of the year dedicated to mothers, Wilanna's mother was calling her back. 4 missed calls, back to back to back to back, and getting no answer, because her daughter was already gone. But here is what you need to understand before we go any further. The woman who introduced Wilanna to Justin Wright was not a stranger. She was not some random connection at a party or a studio session. The woman who put them in the same room on the same day, for the very first time, was Wilanna's best friend. And that best friend? She was Justin Wright's baby mama. That is the surface of this story. What was underneath it is something else entirely. Because the deeper you go into this case, the more names surface, the more footage emerges, the more recordings come out. The clearer it becomes that what happened on Mother's Day 2021 was not a spontaneous argument over pocket change. It was the final outcome of a situation that had been building for a long time. One that Wilanna may have seen coming and still could not escape. This is her story, and we are going to tell it the right way. Wilanna Bibbs was born on September 11th, 2000, in Fayetteville, North Carolina. From the beginning, the people who knew her described her the same way. Always smiling, always forgiving, the kind of person who never held anything against anyone for long. Her mother Cassandra called her a great kid. The kind of daughter who checked in, who said, "I love you," who made sure the people around her knew they were appreciated. By the time she was 20, Wilanna had already done what a lot of people only talk about. She packed up, left North Carolina, and relocated to Atlanta, Georgia to chase something real. She wanted to be a singer. That was the dream she had carried since she was young. And Atlanta felt like the place where that dream had a fighting chance. But Wilanna was not waiting on the dream to pay her bills. She launched her own mink lash business called Lashed by Willie. She started a clothing line. She worked at KFC. She worked at an airport. She worked at a place called Daddy Yo. Multiple streams, multiple jobs, all at the same time, all while keeping her eye fixed on where she was trying to go. That was who she was. Someone who built things from nothing and kept moving regardless of what was in front of her. She was 20 years old with a business, a brand, and a future that was just beginning to take shape. Then she met Justin Wright. Justin Lamont Wright, known in the industry as J. Wright or J. Wright, was 31 years old and based in Atlanta. On paper, he was exactly the kind of person a young artist relocating to Atlanta would want to be connected to. He had built a legitimate name for himself in the music industry as a songwriter and producer. His credits included work alongside Bow Wow, DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, Gucci Mane, Timbaland, and Cash Doll. He had founded his own company, Camp Entertainment Worldwide, back in 2011. He understood the industry. He had relationships. He had access. For a 20-year-old woman trying to break through as a singer, someone like Justin Wright represented a door. What she did not know, what most people outside of his immediate circle did not know yet, was what was on the other side of that door. Because the same man with the industry credits and the studio connections had also been arrested for 26 violent felonies. All violent. And he was not hiding it. 1 month before Mother's Day 2021, Justin sat down for a live interview with Mo Clark on the Post-Up Show and said it plainly, out loud, on camera, that he had been arrested 26 times. that all of them were violent, that he loved to fight, that it was his favorite thing to do, and that if he had to go to jail behind it, he stood on that. He said it like it was a credential. But before Wilanna was ever in the picture, there was someone else. Someone who had already lived inside Justin Wright's world long enough to know exactly what it cost. Her name was Anne, and Anne had been involved with Justin since she was 17 years old. Together they had a daughter named Jayla, and Anne shared publicly, in detail, what those years looked like from the inside. The control, the isolation, the violence. She described being pistol whipped, being drugged, having her Instagram hacked, Justin impersonating her online, selling her page, draining her PayPal, destroying her credit. She described the night he strangled her so severely that he permanently damaged her vocal cords. She said she still cannot sing the same way. She described being choked until she lost consciousness, being forced at gunpoint into acts she has since, compared to what R. Kelly was federally convicted of doing to young women.
He's pistol whipping me, he's drugging me, he hacked my Instagram, he was pretending to be me selling the page. This is a screenshot of a post that he posted, and people were actually sending him money just simply thinking that they were buying the page off of me. And on top of that, he left my PayPal balance thousands of dollars negative, not to mention what he did with my credit score and a whole bunch of other stuff. This is how I look like after he strangled me, to the point where he permanently damaged my vocal cords to the point where I still can't sing the same. He choked me out so bad I pissed myself, and then he at gunpoint forced me to drink my piss on some R. Kelly stuff, and R. Kelly was a mentor of his when he was younger. This is another picture of what I looked like when I escaped.
That R. Kelly had been a mentor to Justin when he was younger. That detail alone should have been the loudest alarm in the room. For Anne at the time, she said it went right over her head. She described the night he forced her to write a suicide letter and tried to make her overdose on her own antidepressants. The only reason she survived was that someone broke into his car while she was inside the apartment. He went outside to check on it, and in that window, no clothes, nothing in her hands, Anne ran. She ran out of that apartment and kept running until she reached a Costco parking lot. She ran in completely naked and did not stop until she found someone who could help her. She said she left without her daughter because she knew if she tried to take Jayla, he would shoot her before she reached the door. She got herself out first and came back for her child later. That was the man Wilanna Bibbs was introduced to. The introduction happened through Anne herself. Jayla was turning 2 years old, and Anne needed someone to do her daughter's hair. She reached out to Wilanna. That was the day Wilanna walked into that apartment for the first time and met both Jayla and Justin Wright in the same afternoon. At the time, Wilanna and Anne were close, the kind of close where you travel together, move together, look out for each other in a city where neither of you has deep roots. By multiple accounts, they were inseparable for a period. What was happening inside that apartment during the time all three of them were in Justin's orbit? Anne has since described in her own words. She said there came a moment when something shifted in Wilanna, when she looked around at what was happening and spoke it out loud. "We have to get out of here, or we are going to die." Anne heard her say it. She knew Wilanna meant it, but only one of them made it out. By May 2021, Wilanna Bibbs and Justin Wright had been in a relationship for just a few months. Whatever had started between them, however it had been framed, whatever promises had been made, the reality of what that relationship looked like behind closed doors was already becoming clear to the people closest to Wilanna. There had already been an incident approximately 2 weeks before Mother's Day. Police had been called. According to what surfaced later, Wilanna had been having what was described as an episode and was taken to the hospital. Her father, Maurice, was paying attention. He had heard things, and he was worried, but Wilanna was in Atlanta, and Justin was with her. Then came the road trip. At some point in early May, Justin decided to drive up from Atlanta to Davenport, Iowa, to visit family. He brought Wilanna with him. He brought his daughter, Jayla. The stated reason for the trip was a birthday party for one of his relatives. According to Justin's own account during his police interrogation, he missed the party entirely arrived just as everyone was walking out the door, so they stayed. His aunt was sick. His daughter's grandfather had gone into the ICU. His mother was struggling. One thing after another kept extending the trip beyond what had originally been planned. They were staying at his mother's house at 1503 Calvin Street in Davenport. Meanwhile, back home, Wilanna's mother, Cassandra, had already purchased a plane ticket. She had arranged for Wilanna to fly home for Mother's Day weekend. She wanted her daughter back in North Carolina for the holiday. That ticket existed. That plan was in place. Then Justin's mother got involved. According to what emerged after the fact, it was Justin's mother who intervened and convinced Wilanna to stay in Iowa instead of getting on that plane. Whether that was a casual conversation or something more deliberate has never been fully established. What is established is the outcome. Wilanna did not get on the plane. She stayed at 1503 Calvin Street, and Mother's Day morning arrived. On the morning of May 9, 2021, Wilanna sent her mother a text message. She wrote, "Hey Ma, happy Mother's Day. I love you and appreciate you for everything you do. Love Bug. Call me." She told her mother to call her back. Then she called her once, then again, then one more time. 4 calls, back to back to back to back. Cassandra was at work. She did not see them coming in. She missed every single one. That same morning, Wilanna's father, Maurice, sent a text message directly to Justin's mother. He told her he had heard from a friend of Wilanna's, back in North Carolina, about another incident involving Justin chasing Wilanna. He said he did not want to get into the full details because he knew the relationship was toxic. But his main concern was simple. His daughter had not responded to his messages all day. Her location was unclear. He needed to know she was okay. He never got the response he needed. Sometime in the early afternoon, Wilanna called a friend. The details of that call are brief, but they are everything. She told her friend that Justin was going to kill her. She said it directly, not as a figure of speech, not as frustration, as a warning. At 1:25 in the afternoon on Mother's Day, May 9th, 2021, Davenport police responded to a disturbance call at 1503 Calvin Street. Officers arrived and found Wilanna Bibbs. She had been shot. Davenport Fire and medic responded to the scene. Wilanna was pronounced deceased where she was found. She was 20 years old. The argument that reportedly ignited everything was over $70. Justin had accused Wilanna of taking money from him. She denied it. Somewhere inside that house, on a Sunday morning, while mothers across the country were being celebrated, that argument became something else. And Wilanna did not survive it. Justin Wright was taken into custody and booked to Scott County Jail. His bond was set at $500,000. He entered a plea of not guilty. What happened next inside that interrogation room deserves its own attention. Justin Wright sat across from a Davenport detective for hours, and in all of that time, across every question, every redirect, every pause, he
Right. Is that a fair? Understand. My daughter, I've never been away from my daughter this long.
Is your daughter
The two is like some place called like PlayStation or something like that. So I went there.
The trampolines?
Yep.
Okay.
So we went there, but I was late because
I think it's called Helium.
Maybe, yeah. So I missed that.
Okay.
I completely missed their party. So I got there when they were leaving, like walking out. Then Joy stayed with me. I've been taking Joy to school and like daycare, picking her up from daycare like this whole week before they left. So I've been staying at my mom's, and we all been sleeping right there. I don't know if you've seen. Well, you didn't.
I was not up there.
But there was like a little fake bed that was in the living room where we've been sleeping at.
Like an air mattress type thing.
And it's like a beanbag mattress. I don't know where they got it from. It's crazy.
Okay. And it was it just you and Jayla that drove up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know it sounds like you and Jayla's mom have some issues.
Really?
Are you currently dating, in a relationship?
Mm-mm.
Anything? Okay. Okay. That gives me some good background. So you're just came in town because of some family stuff. It happens to be your daughter's birthday.
James' dad just went into the ICU. My aunt, Dixie, she just had like 4 surgeries. So it's been like, you know how it goes when it's something bad happening. It's always in threes. Yeah, that's what my mom always taught me.
I was saying a similar thing not too long ago, Justin.
So that's the only reason we stayed this long, or I would have just left. And then it was my nephew's birthday on the 7th, which was yesterday. So I would have left, but then my mom started feeling some kind of way because her husband's.
Not once. From the opening minutes, he was already constructing distance. He told the detective he had been loading his car to leave when officers arrived. He walked through the family circumstances that had extended the trip. The ICU, the sick aunt, the birthday he missed. He positioned himself as someone who had been trying to get home, someone whose PTSD was flaring, someone who was exhausted and just trying to hold everything together. When the detective finally asked him directly about Wilanna, his answer was deliberate. He described her as Anne's friend that he had been involved with briefly, and said that once he found out she was Anne's friend, he had stopped talking to her. He told the detective their only communication in recent days had been over text, that she had sent him money she owed him earlier that day through Apple Pay, that they had fallen out, that they were not close. He sat in that room and described the woman who had just been shot dead in their house like she was a distant acquaintance he barely remembered. Then he went further. He told the detective that Wilanna, Anne, and another man had been plotting to have him murdered, that they had tried to lure him into a setup involving someone named Rox, a plan he claimed he had already reported to police. He framed himself not as a suspect but as a target, a man who had survived multiple attempts on his life and was simply trying to protect himself and his daughter. He talked about his mother's pattern of inserting herself into his relationships, buying plane tickets, sending bus money, arranging for women from his past to come stay with her. He laid out that narrative carefully, methodically, in a way that planted the seed that if Wilanna was even in Davenport, it had nothing to do with him. It was his mother's doing, he said. If she came, it had something to do with my mom. It had nothing to do with me. And when the detective pressed him on when he had last physically seen Wilanna, he paused. He said the room was spinning. He said he was hearing voices. He said he was sorry, that his PTSD was bad, that if the detective asked him again after all of this was over, he would probably have better answers. He performed confusion for hours, without ever producing then a single tear for the young woman who had called her mother 4 times that morning and never got through. Meanwhile, Cassandra finished her shift, picked up her phone, and called her daughter back. There was no answer. There would never be an answer again. The news broke fast. Within hours of Justin Wright's arrest, people who knew Wilanna Bibbs began posting. A former coworker wrote that she had always been a good friend to everyone she worked with, always joking, always joyful, a nice person who would be truly missed. The words were simple, but they painted the same picture everyone who knew her painted. A young woman who made the people around her feel something good just by being present. But inside Wilanna's family, what was being felt in those first hours was not just grief. It was rage. It was the specific, burning kind of rage that comes when someone you love is taken violently, and the person responsible is still breathing. A family member posted publicly and did not hold a single word back. They wrote that Justin had taken their baby, that his mother had helped him, that he had taken Wilanna all the way to Iowa and harmed her on Mother's Day, that he had brainwashed her, manipulated her, tried to turn her against the people who loved her, that they hated that she had ever loved him, that they hated that she had ever met him. Maurice, Wilanna's father, sent a second message to Justin's mother. He wrote that she had not reached out to him once since it happened, but had plenty to say in the weeks before. He told her that made him believe she had helped her son. He told her he hoped Justin was tortured every single day inside that prison, and that nothing but the absolute worst found him there. That is what the first 24 hours looked like for Wilanna's family. On May 12th, 3 days after the shooting, a balloon release was held in Wilanna's honor. An awareness march was organized in her name. The community was responding. People were showing up. And then Anne posted a video. Anne had her own story to tell. She had lived inside Justin Wright's world longer than anyone. She had the scars, literally and figuratively, to prove everything she said about what that experience had cost her. Her account of the abuse she endured, the strangulation, the forced acts, the psychological destruction, was detailed, specific, and documented with photographs. Nobody who listened to Anne's account closely could reasonably dismiss what she described. But in that video, Anne included details about Wilanna, about their friendship, about the dynamic inside that apartment, about choices Wilanna had made, and Wilanna's family heard it and could not let it stand unanswered. Their position was clear. Anne had been the one to make the introduction. Wilanna was a young woman who had been pulled into a situation she did not fully understand by someone she trusted as her closest friend. And now that Wilanna was gone, now that she could no longer speak for herself, explain herself, or offer her own account of what happened and why, using her name in that way was something her family refused to allow without a response. They posted, they pushed back, they made their position public, and they held it. Then an audio recording surfaced, and it changed the texture of everything. In the recording, Anne could be heard speaking about the introduction, about why she had brought Wilanna into Justin's world in the first place. According to what she said in that audio, the plan had not been innocent. The goal, she said, was to get Justin comfortable, to create enough stability and distraction in his life that Anne could build a path back to regaining custody of Jayla. She also described the kind of relationship Justin had been trying to construct. He had not wanted a conventional arrangement. He had wanted multiple women, young, submissive, all operating within the structure he controlled. Anne described going out with Justin's phone to collect the numbers of women he found attractive. She described the roles each person was meant to play inside that dynamic. Wilanna had not stumbled into this situation randomly. She had been introduced into it, and the person who made that introduction was the person she trusted most in Atlanta. Wilanna's family had said it from the beginning. That audio confirmed it. Mo Clark, who had hosted the Post-Up Show interview, where Justin, Anne, and Wilanna had all appeared together just 1 month before the murder, posted the day after Wilanna's passing. She said she was saddened to learn that one of her recent guests had lost her life at 20 years old on Mother's Day. She described Wilanna as an artist from North Carolina who had just started working with her makeup and accessory lines, and she named the painful irony directly. The same man who had brought Wilanna onto her show and introduced them was the same man now sitting in a Scott County jail cell facing a first-degree murder charge. That interview footage, in hindsight, was devastating to watch. Anne later revealed that her face in that footage was caked in makeup, layers of it, because underneath it she was bruised from the most recent beating. 3 people sitting side by side, looking completely cordial to the outside world, while everything behind that image was already in collapse. Wilanna's funeral was held on May 22, 2021, at QA Cantrell Funeral Services in East Point, Michigan. A Dove release was held that same day. Her family gathered and said goodbye to a 20-year-old woman who had moved to a new city alone, built businesses from nothing, held down multiple jobs, and was still reaching towards something better when her life was taken from her. Her sister's public statement stood apart from everything else said during that period. She wrote that she would carry deep regret for the rest of her life if she had never tried to warn Wilanna, if she had never said something. She wrote that Wilanna would get mad at her for it, but always knew it came from love. She wrote that it hurt because Wilanna would always tell her family to let her go through it herself, and her sister would always say, "Why would I want someone I love to go through something they don't have to when I can already see where the road ends?" She could see where the road ended. She said so. And she lost her anyway. Justin Wright's trial began in Scott County District Court on April 10, 2023. Nearly 2 years after Mother's Day 2021, the jury returned its verdict. Justin Lamont Wright was found guilty of first-degree homicide. A friend of Wilanna's posted immediately after. She wrote, "Now you can rest in peace, Wilanna Bibbs. Forever in our hearts, baby girl. Fly high now. Your family got justice for you." On June 14, 2023, Justin Wright was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He filed an appeal. His attorney attempted to argue ineffective assistance of counsel, framing it as a structural error serious enough to be heard on direct appeal. The state pushed back. The Iowa Court of Appeals reviewed the case, and on January 9, 2025, dismissed the appeal entirely. The sentence stood. It stands today. Cassandra Bibbs has never stopped honoring her daughter. On September 11, 2022, what would have been Wilanna's 22nd birthday, Cassandra organized a celebration of her daughter's life at Briar Creek Shopping Center in North Carolina. She showed up. She gathered people. She made sure Wilanna was remembered on the day she came into the world, even though she was no longer in it. A mother who missed 4 phone calls on Mother's Day has spent every day since making sure her daughter is not forgotten. Wilanna Bibbs was 20 years old. She had a lash business, a clothing line, a singing dream, and a mother who loved her. She called home 4 times that morning. She sent texts that said, "I love you and appreciate you for everything you do." She just wanted someone to pick up.